Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video I want to talk about how the world of Novus influenced Wizard101 and everything that kind of went south from Novus. Now, before I even get into this video, I just want to say I did like Novus quite a bit. I think it's like a beautiful world to look at and stuff like that. I feel like the story wasn't terrible as well. We also got some pretty cool new spells, like the new teacup card we got on a storm, even though it's still bugged like a year and some later. But in my opinion, and a lot of other players' opinion, Novus was really the, what's the saying, the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of players. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is going to be how complicated the world is. Now, I'd say this world is not as complicated as Wallaroo in terms of like questing through the actual world, because those Wallaroo Urk fights really kick your ass. I know me, personally, I'm like a really big whiz head, and I struggled on those Urk fights quite a bit. I even died a couple of times. And in Novus, I didn't really die or struggle that much. But if we simply compare the final fights of, Arc 4, right, Lemuria, Novus, Caramel, and Wallaroo, Novus is the one that was arguably the most ambitious. In the final fight of Novus, you actually can't, just blade AoE, right? You can do it after you get unpolymorphed and stuff like that, which is great. But we need to keep in mind, right? When Novus first came out, you had to individually get unpolymorphed. Now, if one person gets unpolymorphed, the entire team gets unpolymorphed, they can blade AoE. So I think the big takeaway here is they made the final fight of Novus too complex, and they're being a little bit too ambitious, I would say. I know the whole community is like, oh, I like Blade AoE, and oh, I don't like Blade AoE, and that's fine, to have opinions on that. But I really think the final fight of Novus just really intimidated players, right? You literally got polymorphed, you cannot do anything that even felt like Wiz. You couldn't use your own cards, your own spell deck, you couldn't AoE, you couldn't blade, you couldn't aura, and instead you got all these new Rochambeau looking spells thrown at you. And I've talked about this in a previous video, right? The Rochambeau combat battle system that King Salah has is really just not a good one, and it's not healthy for the game. Generally, that's because it goes against the legacy identities of the game, of Fire being a dot school, of Storm being the glass cannon school, of Ice being the tank school, and Life being, like the healing school. The whole thing of Rochambeau just kind of contradicts that, and it makes it really, really bad. So when you have the final fight of Novus here simply just be like, oh hey, this is Rochambeau PvE now, a lot of players aren't gonna like that, and it's not gonna, feel recognizable to the player, and it's going to turn them off quite a bit. And I'm willing to bet right now, if you're a KI dev or whatever, I'm willing to bet you guys could probably see a ton of players getting stuck on this fight. I know they've talked about on streams, they have data on like where players get stuck in the game, and I think it's gonna be the same thing with the Nightmare Dungeon, right? Because you have to complete the Nightmare Dungeon to actually get into the new world, I think the dev said, like as part of the main story. So they keep making this content like really, really challenging and complex, and a lot like the Rochambeau we see in Advanced Combat. And players generally just don't like it, and it doesn't feel like the game they know and love and like they grew up playing. I genuinely love the identity of Storm at the start of the game and the legacy, but now within the Rochambeau, it's just like it doesn't really feel like the school. And another thing the Novus system did, it actually gave every school a crap ton of damage, right? This is something I don't see talked about a lot, but if you simply compare like the Aeon boots or the Reaver boots, like every school now has comparable damage stat. The damage stuff just doesn't really feel good anymore because the damage cap is so easy to hit on every school. For example, on a Storm, I can hit 240 pretty easily, but I can do that just as well on my balance, so it doesn't feel special to be a Storm anymore because everybody has the same damage, if not just comparable damage, but other schools have better stats. So yeah, back on point here, I simply think the last fight of Novus simply was very intimidating, and it did not feel familiar to the players at all. It doesn't feel or look like Wiz at all, having to read these hieroglyphics in the battle. Then you got like this school pip system and this Rochambeau stuff, shoved down your throat, and it's just like, it just doesn't feel good. I don't really think the I don't really think the players appreciate that. Next up, I want to talk about the pity system. Now, I think this underwent like 2 audits or something. I could be wrong. But the Novus pity system is still pretty bad. I've seen a couple of people talk about it. And if you are somebody questing through Novus, I would recommend just simply skipping the Novus farming and just doing Walroo, because Walroo gear is basically like Aeon, but it's a lot more reasonable to farm and it's better than Aeon. But yeah, like this pity system is really bad, and it's unfortunate to see it because I really, you know, was interested in a couple of the things they're trying here, but I think it's just, you know, too unreasonable. You know, I think probably the wildest thing for me was when they listened to community feedback and then they put in 9 pieces of masterpiece. Like, I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they're like, the community saying, oh, this is so tough, okay, let's give them 9, right? There's 7 schools, so I have to get 1 for every school and then 2 more pretty much. Like, that's insane, bro. Just for 1 piece, you've lost your mind. So yeah, I think the gear grind was really bad, and as you guys know, I have 7 max characters, so I had to get every single piece of Eternal and Aeon from hat to deck on every single school, right? It was really annoying. I actually did enjoy some of the boss fights, like Maxine. I really liked that one for farming. And in Walroo, we actually have a way better pity system now because they actually listened to the community's feedback like the 3rd time through. And yeah, in Walroo now, we actually have the best pity system in the entire game, I would argue, right? The Dream Water is, you know, not too bad to farm. The gear drop rates as well seem a lot more reasonable and better. You can actually craft multiple things now as well. You can craft, like, you know, 6% pierce jewels instead of farming in Mirage. You can just go ahead and craft that now. Or pins, right? Instead of farming the last fight of Novus and wanting to, you know, off yourself pretty much, you can just simply craft these now for Dream Water at Bingo, which I think is all really great. Even the 16% accuracy jewels, right? You can just all craft this stuff, and a pip jewel. It's all really great, and I'm very happy they listen to community feedback, and I really hope they keep a pity system similar to Walroo going forward. It took the devs some time to get a good system that, you know, actually felt reasonable to the player in place, but here we are, and I'm happy that we have it. But yeah, that's really everything I have to say about Novus. I did thoroughly enjoy the world quite a bit, guys. It's just these, you know, 2 or 3 big things I talked about in the video. They're very big deals, big red flags, and I'm really happy they at least fixed the gear one, because that one is really tough. But I really hope that they can do something about the whole, you know, Rochambeau, PvP, PvE, hieroglyphs kind of thing. You know, we do have the spell inspect thing coming pretty soon with the spring update, but I mean, that only does so much, right? Because it's kind of like a feeling, right? I feel like the Legacy Wiz players don't want to feel like they have to, you know, translate hieroglyphs when they're questing through their mainline, you know, casual PvE. And I really hope the devs look at, you know, the Legacy identity and stuff like that, because like I said, when like every school can get comparable damage or the same damage as the Glass Cannon school, it just simply does not feel good. And that can go for other stuff like Fire, you know, being a dot school, but other schools have hella dots, or Lift being the healing school, but, you know, Storm has some better heals, arguably, like Barry. Or Ice being the tank school, but Life is just a better tank school. You could go on and on with the whole Legacy identity argument stuff, but, yeah. All we can really hope for is the devs, you know, take a second look at it and maybe tweak their combat model. I just hope they really kind of, like, give more expression to the schools. Like, I don't know, man. Let's say you're a Life Wizard, so you get 200 outgoing, but a Storm and a Fire get, like, 100 or something. Or if you're a Storm, you get, like, 300 damage, and every other school stays at 240. So maybe they could just simply go the extra mile in terms of stats with whatever identity it is on the Rochambeau wheel. But yeah, we'll have to see, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you agree with anything, let me know. If you disagree, let me know why respectfully in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and or a sub. And I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching, and take care, y'all.